It's graduation week here at CU Boulder. Brian, they were doing a test flyover as I was setting things up here today. It wasn't perfect. It was a little out of line. It's kind of like the CU football program right now. A few things to put together here before they get into the summer months. And right now it's about roster composition, and it's about bringing in guys that can not only bring in depth but challenge some of the guys. You know, a Landon Beebe coming in and pushing a Van Wells at center. There's a lot of guys that they want to bring in to create competition across the board. Let's start with the offensive guys, though, first.
Yeah, it is not a complete package right now, and not a fine-tuned operation. They don't even have everybody here. So we keep asking. I know you get asked this question. I get asked this question. How many spots are open? Well, we think there's 16 right now or whatever it is, or 14, but it might actually be 16, or who knows what it is. So in fact, I actually have notes because there's so many guys that are new that we have to kind of write them down so we can remember who they are. So yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this comes together. But, yeah, offensively, certainly I think this round in the spring, they've really added some depth piece, more so than starters, I think. I think most of the starters in offense we've probably seen throughout the spring, maybe with a couple exceptions. But I think that they're adding some good depth on the offense.
Well, I think Xavier Weaver's one that I would expect to come in this summer and most likely win a starting job. When you look at how Jimmy Horn stood out, was the first buff to earn his number. Yeah. Well, in that same offense at USF, Xavier Weaver had 15 more catches last season. So that has to make you a little bit excited if you're a Colorado fan looking at what he might bring to the mix there. And one interesting thing with those other four receivers that are coming in with Xavier Weaver as transfers this summer, you look across the board there, those guys are all speedsters. Yep. And they were all guys that were 10-6 type guys in the 100-meter dash in high school, and E.J. Horton was running the 60-meter dash at Marshall on their track team. So if you're going to take some chances on guys, those other four receivers maybe don't have the resume that Xavier Weaver does, but take a chance on a guy that's got some wheels, especially with this offense.
Yeah, and I've heard some criticism like, hey, where are the big receivers? Well, maybe they don't want big receivers. Maybe they want, 6 foot or under, speedsters, and that's what they've got a lot of. And there are some big receivers in the freshman class coming in, but this transfer group is very, very much these small, speedy guys, and, small, 6 feet, but it's a lot of speed. And E.J. Horton is not a guy that had a lot of catches, but he clearly has some speed to him. He was running on the Marshall track team this spring, so in the 100 meters, and I think there was a 60-meter dash in indoor track. So there's some speed there, which hey, you've got a quarterback finally that can throw the football. So get somebody that can run by defensive backs, and Shedeur launches it, then maybe we see some exciting moments.
At the recording of this, they're still trying to find a piece at running back, a piece at tight end as well. But at running back, right now, as we record this again, it's a really interesting group. Yeah. Courvoisier Smoke is going to come in, and he was kind of that he could get 10, 15 yards on a pretty consistent basis. He wasn't that 80-yard home run threat that they expect Dylan Edwards to be. Right. He wasn't necessarily that run-through tackles like an Anthony Hankerson. His runs, he would kind of fall forward and get that extra yard or two, but he wasn't a big break a ton of tackles guy. But he's an interesting guy coming in here. He had a pretty healthy yards per carry average during his time at Kentucky.
Yeah, and he rushed for a lot of yards at Kentucky, and mostly in a backup role, but he did have a lot of carries and a lot of yards there. And it's an interesting group, like you said. And I look at it, and there's 3 guys right now, Edwards, Hankerson, and now Smoke, that I don't know who the starter is, because they're all different types of guys, and I think it's going to be interesting competition. But I like the fact that they're different types of guys that can come in and do different things. And Smoke obviously has more experience in all of them, so maybe he's that lead guy to start. But if he's the lead guy, I love the change of pace with Hankerson and Edwards. So I like those 3 guys to lead things, but you do want to see like 2 more running backs maybe for depth, because those guys are going to get banged up at some point.
Yeah, it would be nice to just have the talent sort itself out there in terms of the rotation, but generally at the running back position, it is injuries that dictate exactly how that rotation is going to go. So I think you'd be fine with that group right now, but knowing that there's going to be injuries down the road, you want to definitely add another capable guy there that could even challenge for the feature back role. And you got to mention Charlie Alford. If there's an open scholarship going into camp, I think I know who I'd put my money on, right?
Well, hey, based on that one video where Dion says, if you keep doing this, you're not going to be walking very long, you would think that. No, I think they're still going to look for a couple other pieces. But, yeah, if they're sitting at 84, when fall camp runs around, it's like, yeah, I think Charlie Alford might be a candidate to get that spot. And, when two straight coaching staffs who are vastly different say the same thing about a guy and praise him as much as these last two staffs have, that says something about him. That kid deserves a scholarship somewhere.
Yeah. On the O-line, you've got a couple of veteran guys coming in, and a couple of younger transfers into the program as well, again, as we record this. Mentioned Landon Beebe at the top. This is somebody that is jumping up a level, but was, I believe, a 3-time all-conference selection, and he's somebody that, from what I've heard, this staff is very excited to get him on campus.
Yeah, definitely a good depth piece. I think he's going to be the only senior offensive lineman on this team, or one of only a couple.
Reggie Young, I believe,
Reggie
as well.
Young, you're right. Yeah, they shot him yesterday. So
yeah.
sorry, I forgot that one. But yeah, I got to look
there.
at my list. But not a lot of experience, on this line as far as older players. There's a ton of starting experience, obviously. BB is one of them, and he's a guy that needs to push Van Wells. I mean, Coach O'Boyle mentioned, Van Wells, he likes him a lot, but there's times that, he needs to kind of get going a little bit more consistently. Maybe BB can do that. He's one of those guys that I look at as intriguing because he does come from that lower level, but he's got a lot of experience. Jack Bailey's another one that, coming from that Kent State offense that, was a starter at right guard. I think the last 19 games or whatever he played there. I love him coming in here, and, I sort of pencil him in as a starter at right guard, but that competition is going to be pretty intense there as well. But if nothing else, he comes in here as a guy that knows this offense and can teach a lot of the guys around here.
One of the intriguing guys in that group for me is Reggie Young. This is somebody that was convinced to play football his senior year of high school, was a baseball player before that, and he bounces around low level to JUCO, to Liberty, and now this is his Power 5 opportunity. And again, that sense of urgency that a lot of these graduate transfers are going to come here with. He told me that he's over 300, 6'4", so he's kind of a versatile piece. He's a little bit like William Sherman in the sense he's got a little bit more length than your average 6'4" lineman, so I'm anxious to see what he can do.
Well, it's interesting that he's over 300 because Liberty listed him last year at 270, so he must have put on a lot of weight in the offseason. I've tried not to put on weight in the offseason, but he must have. But he's interesting in that he was a backup at Liberty as well. And played. There was about 5 games he played a good amount of snaps, but was basically a backup there. So I'm curious to see how raw he is, or how much he actually helps. But he's a good depth piece. I mean, he's a guy that just 2 years ago was a JUCO All-American. I believe he played with Jack Wiltie at Iowa Central. They both came from there at least, but it was a JUCO All-American. So he's certainly got some ability. So I'm curious to see what he looks like here.
So a lot of pieces, and there's going to be more added there. Mention tight end, running back, still some needs here. I think we got to split this video up into offense, defense, because there's just so many guys coming into the program.
Well, one other quick thing on offense is they need a backup quarterback too. And I don't know how confident you feel or they feel in true freshmen. I know people are excited about Wiseman and Ryan Staub, their ability, but that's a little nerve-wracking going into a season with 2 true freshmen as your early backups.
Yeah, I don't know this for a fact. I wouldn't be surprised if there's something simmering there that just is kind of quiet now, and maybe we find out when we go to camp. Or if they do go into preseason camp with Ryan Staub taking the reps with the 2s, then they really like what he brings to the table, right?
Right. You would think so, or they're very, very confident that they can block for Shedeur and keep him healthy.
It is a big question as we enter the summer months here in Boulder.